Enemy of the state.
An enemy of the state.
Enemy of the state.
Dank Podstash.
You're listening to Enemy of the State's Dank Podstash. Check out thedankpodstash.com to find every episode of the Dank Podstash, links to support the show via our BitBacker and Patreon, Dank Podstash merchandise, and much more. If you'd like to advertise on the Dank Podstash, email us at dankpodstash@gmail.com. Hey, this is your host, non-voting Nick. Before we jump into today's show, let me bring you a special offer from my friend Shane Radliff over at Liberty Under Attack Publications. Shane has an offer for Dank Podstash listeners to take 10% off your order by using coupon code DANK10. Just go to libertyunderattack.com. Shane has books focusing on self-liberation, freedom strategies, solutions, and more. His current books are #Agora, Second Realm book on strategy, Ben Stone's Sedition, Subversion, and Sabotage, and Shane's very own Vanu, a strategy for self-liberation, among others. He also offers assistance to new authors throughout the publishing process, editing, proofreading, formatting for Kindle and paperback, and full-service audiobook productions. That's Liberty Under Attack Publications. Share your story, find your freedom. I'd also like to give a shout-out to Bad Moon Hemp. Check out badmoonhemp.wordpress.com. Bad Moon Hemp is your one-stop shop for all your handmade hemp needs. I use Bad Moon Hemp's beard oil and beard balm. It's awesome stuff. Be sure to check them out and enjoy the show. Hey-o.
So, this is a crossover event. You'll be able to find this on both the channels of myself, which you're already on, if you're watching this live, or Enemy of the State's Dank Podstash, which is the podcast of the person that I'm sitting next to, who is Nick Irwin. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into the
What's up?
Meat of it.
Hello, fellow enemies of the state. My name's Nick Irwin, #non-voting Nick. I host Enemy of the State's Dank Podstash. And yeah, I wanted to talk with you about Area 51.
Yep.
And the, storm all the things,
Mm-hmm.
the implications thereof.
Alright, so first let me get some stuff out of the way. This is brought to you by Anarcho Coffee. It's also brought to you by, he's saying you need to get closer to the mic, so let me fucking
lean in
work
a bit.
this in. So this is brought to you by Anarcho Coffee. It's coffee that you can get to support both anarchists and also this specific anarchist if you use the link in the description. It's also brought to you by the Thin Blue Line game, Necrotopia RPG, Castle Keep Crafts, which is a new sponsor. If you want to get a sponsor slot, hit me up. My rates are not expensive. And you'll get a feature not only in the actual videos, but you'll be in the partner sites section of my website. So feel free to hit me up if you're interested in that. All that out of the way, I invited 100 people to this, and Nick invited some more, so it should be a relatively lively cast if you guys want it to be. So, all that out of the way, what's the first thing you wanted to talk about?
Well, so I wanted to kind of dive deep into maybe some conspiracies around Area 51, the implications of people being willing to storm Area 51. If it's a distraction, I guess that'd be part of the conspiracies with the whole Epstein Island deal, all that stuff. How's that sound, Jason? Can you hear me there?
Yeah, we got Jason in the chat saying he was a little too far away from the mic. But assuming that the audio quality is fine now, the general, like, there's a great article that you can read about 9/11 and the Saudis, and it talks about the fact that an ex-CIA officer, high-ranking, told the author of it, I think it was Paul Craig Roberts, if I remember correctly, that the CIA puts stories within stories, so that even if you follow one bead and it's true, you'll end up with a distracting bead that is less true or untrue. Lots better, but still a little distant. Bearable, though. So, that's the general notion I have about a lot of this Area 51 stuff. I mean, if Area 51 is being used to hold aliens, first off, I already made this point in multiple other places, but I'll make it again here for anybody who didn't see this. Well, and it looks like the stream might be frozen. I'm not exactly sure.
Hope not.
But I made this point with several people, and I'll make it again here. Giving the U.S. government 2 months' notice to clear everything out of a base isn't a good way to storm it. So if anybody was serious about it, which I get the feeling that most of them just want to turn it into Burning Man, or, whatever, Burning Man for weebs, that, you wouldn't have given them 2 months. So I just turned up the microphone volume to see if that helps at all. If it does, let me know. But, and by the way, for anybody not aware, this is my first time of hosting my own podcast stream with a guest at a physical location. I've been on his show before. You can check it out relatively easily by Googling it. I have an article where I posted the link to that. But this is my first in-person hosting thing. So if you like the content, feel free to throw some Patreon bucks my way so that I can get a better set. But all that out of the way, that's the point. That's my primary concern, is that people actually concerned with storming it have already fucked up. So, I mean, what's your primary concern?
Well, on that point, I don't know how many people are aware of encrypted messaging and things like that in order to keep it secret. Mm-hmm. And as far as I'm aware, the guy that started it, I can't remember his name, started it as a joke, and it kind of took off. And that's what I figured it was at first, and then I think as it grew, more people got serious about it, and it was just the place to be. There's hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of people in that group right now.
Yeah, and also, of course, people have overbooked all the hotels in the local area, hotels and motels. Right. Everything's overbooked, all the Airbnbs, and everybody's literally planning to, well, not everybody, maybe I would say a third of the people are planning to actually physically go to this, and they're not just there for the meme.
Sure, and the positivity I see from it is just that so many people are even willing to entertain the idea of storming a government location. Just that by itself is a good step in the right direction, in my opinion. And then all the little side quests that have come up, all the storm, all the things, the White House, the Federal Reserve, the Vatican, and one that I think should be on the list is the prison where Ross Ulbricht is as well.
That would be good, but to me, if you want to storm something secret, maybe storm Denver International Airport. That's something I want to see what's under there. Get people with GoPros. Start up a mesh net so that you can have the stream to the internet on a network that the U.S. government can't censor, right?
Yeah.
And go see they're literally mocking people for thinking about in person. They're mocking people. They have a big rubber laughing gargoyle set up with a live actor voicing the part of the laughing gargoyle to mock people who look into the potential conspiracy of the Denver International Airport. Maybe storm that.
Sure.
But on one other just minor gripe, Sonic ran like that before Naruto did. I have to say that because there's a reason that Naruto runs like that, and it's not because he made it up. Just had to say that. But all that aside, so let's talk the conspiracy angle then, because I'm relatively good at that, as you know. What conspiracy do you have to bring to the table on that score? Are you one of the people who thinks that they're gonna kill everybody?
I think if people, they might, because we've seen the pictures from the briefings and all that stuff. They might just mow people down, and I think that needs to be covered. Quick aside, I have a Patreon goal, and if I meet that, I'll be there covering it. If I can live, if not, I'll get footage and bring it with one of the Podstash episodes, bring it as soon as I can. So check out thedankpodstash.com or patreon.com/thedankpodstash. But I don't even think that's necessarily a conspiracy, because people are just saying that. I think if thousands of people rush a military base, it's very possible that they get mowed down. I was thinking more along the lines of how this came out very soon after the announcement that Epstein was fucked. And that all the people on the lists, which I can't verify, who have supposedly visited his island, celebrities in particular, there's Snapchats coming out of the people, exact people on the list saying, all right, let's do this Area 51 thing. It seems like a major diversion to me.
Yeah. Well, and if the news is filled up with this, like, it's sort of like how Occupy Wall Street, like, it started with semi-noble intentions, and they were like even allowed in the park. That's one of the misconceptions that I hear a lot, is that they were invading the park, man, and you know these rabble, they were in our way and we were trying to go to work. See, and well, maybe, but blame the park owner because he let them stay there. It was specifically upon request, like that. That's one of my problems, is that a lot of these things, like, they try to act all grassrootsy and shit, and when it comes down to it, when it comes down to the brass tacks of it, they had permission, or they were selling something, or it was a partnership, and you find out that it was all pre-manufactured and wasn't actually organic and it wasn't real.
Right.
So I have a feeling that a lot of this is that you know, not only is it a distraction on that level, but like every politician and government official has reason to distract people. The Democrats are like ever more getting people censored off social media. The Republicans are trying to start like conflicts that are actually wars with Iran, like troops in Saudi Arabia. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about Area 51. So on a distractionary count, like it's definitely well and truly there already, even if that wasn't their intention. Jason says in chat, distracting people equals controlled opposition. Totally agreed. He also says they should storm USP Tucson and free Ross. Definitely.
Speaking of Tucson, I just found out that the Mount Graham telescope around Tucson is owned by the Vatican, and if you get too close hiking in the mountains where it is, you'll get turned away by armed Vatican guards. Really? So storm that as well, Mount Graham telescope.
Yeah. Well, and that's interesting on its face. So they own the telescope. They own the land on the telescope.
As far as I'm aware, yeah.
Because the Vatican's a foreign nation. That's an interesting concept. Like, it's considered a nation unto itself. So that's an interesting concept. All right. Well, yeah. Then storm that. Add that to the list. You know, or the. I want to know who made the Georgia Guidestones, so maybe find that guy, track him down, and storm wherever he is. There are places to storm. Storm the prison where Assange is being held.
Yeah, all the places. Well, and that's why I like this idea, because so many people are behind it, and we can clearly see the power of memes that's bringing everybody together and ramping it up, and that momentum needs to keep going. I want to see what happens at Area 51 if people actually go through with it. I want to cover it. I want to know what the consequences are, and then keep that momentum rolling to wherever else needs to be opened up. I think that's a possible thing. It might be kickoff of the Boogaloo. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's sort of part of the reason I have a problem with the fact that they've allowed it this much time, because I think one of the reasons that there are so many people is because they've allowed it enough time to be ineffective. Like, that's sort of a problem as far as I'm concerned. I think if they wanted to do this, which some of these people did, that they would have just moved up the date. I think a lot of these people don't know how storming works, personally.
Yeah, I don't know why the date September 20th was picked either. Have you seen anything as far as that?
I haven't seen anything specific, no.
Interesting. I have to look into that. Yeah.
And like, you know, normally the sorts of events that would be organized around a date months in advance would be like the 5th of November. So it might be interesting to see if this is designed to drive momentum away from a very public 5th of November demonstration. Because, like, if I've already taken my vacation days out to go to Area 51, I can't go to a 5th of November march and be a fucking anonymous guy behind a Guy Fawkes mask. But you know, all this aside, the guy who started it as a joke, and he actually has advised people not to physically go there. So obviously you and I, we don't mind if people fuck with the government base. But you know, a lot of these mainstream outlets are using this as a new Tide Pod craze. Because it's a meme, they're looking at it like, oh, it's just the kids doing something that harms them again. I saw a great thing on like a meme once, I 2 or 3 days ago, about how boomers complain about the kids doing things, and it's like they were doing whippets, they were huffing glue, paint, and gasoline, and various other things, and that occurs to me relatively regularly, how the latest the kids doing stuff is considered terrible when it's normal for these things to come out. And I think that this is another example, but what's interesting is that there are people of all ages interested in going.
All ages, all different walks of life. There's active military, former military in that group saying they want to go. I thought that was pretty interesting. There are a lot in the main group warning people not to, and they're the ones sharing a lot of screenshots of the debriefing and whatnot. So
okay, that's something interesting. What's the debriefing?
Well, it might not be a debriefing, but it, you know, just getting people ready. Like there was a meme with Naruto on a projector in front of a bunch of guys being explained what the Naruto run is, and it was, I believe, shared to Snapchat, and the guy that shared it said, "Thanks a lot. I gotta waste my time in this briefing learning about this stuff. Don't storm Area 51." And there's been multiple of those shared of different things.
Well, let me see if I can find an example of this, because that does sound amusing, and I'll throw it up on the screen if I can find anything. But what's super interesting about that potential to me is that if the U.S. government suddenly has to worry about the potentials of people storming stuff, and they're, you know, concerned enough about it to like actually have debriefings, that might actually be a good sign. It might be a good sign for our ability to fuck with people in the state.
I'm sharing the image to you right now. I just found it.
Okay, all right.
You
can share it to Facebook.
I messaged you in here. Let me read it real quick. I gotta pull it back up because you can see what's on the projector behind them. I guess I gotta speak up too because I'm not by the mic. Naruto running. The act of running like Japanese anime character Naruto, and I'm sorry if I butcher that. I don't fucking watch it. Naruto Uzumaki, in which a person runs very fast with their torso forward and arms back, and it's a guy pointing to the projector with a picture of a bunch of people running like that next to a picture of the anime, and then him demonstrating it in a briefing room.
That's amusing.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give it that.
Yeah, and that's when I first started seeing those. I think you probably just mentioned this, but it means they're kind of taking it seriously.
Yeah,
like people are gonna fucking show up and they're gonna run into this area, and we got to be prepared. So what the fuck does that tell you? Like, and Jason mentioned in the chat that Area 51 was declassified in 2013.
Yes.
And so if everything is known there, then why are they gearing up to stop people from going in?
Well, they're gearing up to stop people from going in because part of international power is the ability to demonstrate a lack of weaknesses in your own bases, and if it's that easy to get in, then
it's true.
So they've got to put up a show of force, even if they clear out all the good stuff by the time people get there, which is what they will have done if there was any good stuff there. They've already gotten 2 months to fucking do it, which was my beef with it. Post that to your Discord. I don't have Facebook password on the other computer yet, so
sure.
All my passwords are unhackable. But it's an interesting prospect. Like there's this image floating around that I always like, where like a shark is running away from is having a bunch of little fish like running away from it, and then and it says like organized at the bottom with the shark suddenly having all these fish in the shape of a much bigger fish, and it says organized. And I think that that's the kind of thing that we could do if we started to actually care on this kind of level.
And I cut people some slack for organizing publicly, like I said before, because not everyone is aware of encrypted messaging and things like that. And there's a lot of people who do hide their activity as, agorists, anarchists, whatever. I don't know if that's even effective, if that's even a thing that works at this point in time. I'm pretty, for the most part, open about what I do there. Obviously, I'm not going to out myself on anything that I don't want in public for evidence, you know what I mean, allegedly. So the hiding seems almost pointless in this day and age with surveillance and everything else. And
yeah. Well, and I mean, there is something to be said for it, but like, that's really, you would only need encryption if you were actually making solid plans for what to do to get in. A lot of these people are just making these images to make these images. I think most of them will just be like camped outside it.
Sure.
That's what I was saying. It'll be like a Burning Man. It'll be like a bunch of people getting drunk and doing drugs. Maybe there are some musicians who actually want to go there and do live music right outside the base. So I think it's basically just going to be a concert for most of these people, but some of these people might want to actually do it. Count Dankula made a video on it recently, where he went over the fact that maybe some of them are just going to, maybe some of them will be like actual Russian assets doing this for the purposes of like getting into a base, but like, or whatever, a foreign asset. And that's an interesting concept to me personally.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because I figured people would show up and vendors and whatnot. I really want to see how many people actually run towards the base, and I want to see if they'll use lethal force against them. I think if that happens, it's going to be insane. It's going to be just the implications of that, the aftermath of that. And I think it needs to be covered by more than the mainstream media. I think as many people as possible should go there and film it and get it out there. Because what happens with every big event that happens, with 9/11 or the Vegas shooting, what have you, where there's been footage of it, and people in the future deny the things that actually happened. People go back and they find footage. So if we flood the internet and with footage and just keep as much as we can, then it's going to be impossible for them to deny whatever they do.
Right. Well, and of course the fact that there are deep fakes now and people don't trust anything, basically. That's the second layer to it, and they shouldn't really trust anything. At this point it's very difficult to trust anything. So, that's an interesting concept. But you want to talk what to storm. Why don't you give me your top 5 things to storm and why, and I'll do the same for you.
Well, after hearing about the Mount Graham telescope, that's in the top 5. It's not in any particular order. I haven't thought that deep on it, but the Mount Graham telescope, because supposedly the Vatican owns it and they'll turn people away. Free Ross is always on my mind. That's something that needs to happen, as well as pretty much everyone who's incarcerated who shouldn't be there. Storming prisons is not a bad idea in my mind, and busting people out. I think storming the White House would kick off some serious shit. I don't know. I don't really advocate for collapsitarian ways. More change the culture. Let's try to do this peacefully if possible. But if it happens that way, it happens that way, and you can't sit back. So that, I guess, the White House would be in the top 5. I really like your Denver airport idea. I think that's a great fucking idea. And after that, probably the Federal Reserve. I think that would be an interesting one as well. If not just to freak people the fuck out financially.
Yeah, okay. So first off, let me blow this up a little. I have the meme from the Dank Pod Stash Discord. This is what that is. Apparently, there was a briefing and there was actually like people demonstrating what that is. If this is real, it might not be. It might just be like people fucking around, and it might not be a real briefing. Who knows? I don't. But it's an interesting potential.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, there's multiples of those too. I might have another one on here, but it was some military dude that was saying, thanks a lot for wasting our time. And that's another point of all this. If they're actually doing these briefings and wasting time and resources, hell yeah, I'm down. Yeah, this guy is, I don't know if you want me to put his Twitter handle out there, but and it's probably not his either, but he says, wasting army resources because of a fucking meme is my favorite part of late capitalism. No, really, it's genuinely funny and good, and it has a Snapchat of looks like someone in the army saying, gotta go to this dumbass meeting about this Storm Area 51 shit. Do it. Waste the time and the resources.
Yeah. Well, and it's better that you quote, waste that time than it be spent on bombing people.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I mean, Trump just, like, found out he could allocate defense budget money to the fucking border wall. So
I like that you said he just found out. Oh, this whole fucking bullshit he's been going through. He's like, oh, I can do this now.
Yeah, well. Okay, well, looks like we've got a Minecraft memer in there. Interesting. Creeper, aw man, so we, back in the mine, got our pickaxe, alright.
Okay.
Fine.
Get back to work.
Yes. Must rebuild your house, like Jack Black's gonna burn it down. Anyway, so I think that's a valuable thing. I think Denver would have been, well, I mean, it's my top 5 still. Denver's my number 1. I want to see what's under Denver, and I have a strong feeling that the place that's bold enough to have a pale horse in the middle of the runway and all that fucking Illuminati art on the walls and a fucking laughing gargoyle mocking people for thinking any of this is suspicious, I think that place is probably a place of significant importance.
What is their excuse for all that? Just quirky? Oh, we're quirky. It's art.
It's an ad campaign.
Oh.
I mean, well, okay, that's their excuse. Their excuse for the laughing gargoyle and a bunch of other stuff that they literally did to mock people who think that there's a conspiracy. They have like a little Illuminati eye pyramid thing that flashes temporarily.
Gotcha.
On their ads about it. All this stuff that they're doing, they say is just an ad campaign. We're just having fun. But their original purposes were to, like their excuse anyway, was to demonstrate the diversity of the kinds of people who come in and go out of the U.S. Like, really, the images were just fucking...
How's Illuminati images fucking demonstrate diversity?
Well, because there were people of all races united after this fucking military guy with a great sword fucking just, like, slashes in one of the murals.
Okay.
Yeah, anybody unfamiliar with that, I'll try to pull up some images of it before we end this stream, like maybe while he's describing something else, but that's the kind of reason I want to, like, that among many other things is part of the reason I want that to be the next target. That, I mean, the Federal Reserve wouldn't be bad, but I think that there's much more to do with some of the tunnels in some of the places that are in the middle of the desert, like, not necessarily Area 51, but certainly Nevada's got a bunch of desert tunnels, and it might be interesting to see what's under those.
I forgot the border detention centers.
Right.
Those should be stormed as well.
Right.
Bust them out.
Free the children.
Mm-hmm.
So those would be reasonable. I'll add the detention centers to my, which are basically just concentration camps, to my list of things. I wouldn't mind seeing the Vatican stormed. I wouldn't mind seeing the tallest tower in the world at Dubai stormed. I wouldn't mind seeing fucking There's a significant amount of military installations in the Middle East, and some of these military installations are used for the offshoots of programs like MK Ultra and the New Earth Army, the kinds of things that the Men Who Stare at Goats was made after.
There's known black sites in what, Detroit or Chicago too? Probably other places. That wouldn't hurt either.
Well, the black sites that they know about aren't black sites anymore.
Not
they
anymore.
closed
Yeah.
those down.
That makes sense.
But maybe like be aware of where the black sites could be and storm it if it seems like they have victims they're making there. That might be an interesting thing to do.
I like the prisons. I think busting people out like Julian Assange and Ross Ulbricht. Just seeing the comparisons all the time of Ross Ulbricht's sentencing versus fucking pedophiles is disgusting. How much more time he was sentenced to.
So how about, like, for the people who aren't aware, how about you talk about Ross Ulbricht for a little bit? Because I've been talking for a while now, so.
Well, it's going to be short and sweet. Ross Ulbricht was one of the founders of the Silk Road, who I'm not sure even how exactly he got busted, but he got busted for nothing really. He created a marketplace in which people exchanged black market goods, possibly red market goods. And he was not involved in those exchanges from what I understand. And they went after him and hit him pretty much threw the book at him. Was it double life sentence that he's serving? Plus a certain amount of years for having a website on the deep web in which these things happened. So he didn't do anything other than own that site, and yet he's in jail longer than most, rapists, murderers, pedophiles, what have you. They wanted to, I think, in my opinion, they wanted to make an example of him for living outside of the regulation of the market here in the States and pretty much the world, living outside of regulations in general, having an actual open market.
Yeah. Well, so that, and also let's go over Assange, because people who listen to my podcast know about Assange. I'm not sure, have you ever gone over him on yours?
Just very, very little.
All right, well, you can go over Assange too as well if you want.
You need to jump into that one. You probably know way more than me.
Okay, well, Julian Assange was, is the face of WikiLeaks, a public leaking organization which will help people who have information publicize that information. They've publicized names, full-on documents, and also, detailed data dumps for a decade or so now, I think it's been about. And Julian Assange is in prison right now for jumping bail on a thing that he has an alibi for, so that's odd on its face.
That was sexual assault charges in Sweden?
Yeah, and they were dropped.
Right.
So the alibi, the bail should have, been completely, the record should have been expunged, and he shouldn't have had to go to jail in Europe. And the U.S. government wants him once he's out of European jails, because the U.S. government is run by Trump, who only used WikiLeaks during his campaign, and now says he doesn't know who they are after gushing about them when they were dropping leaks on Hillary. So, whatever. This is about Assange, not about Trump. But Assange helped a guy named, at the time, Bradley Manning, until he admitted he was trans. Now she goes by Chelsea Manning. And she is now in solitary confinement for refusing to testify against Assange for a grand jury. And Assange is rotting in jail in one country with threats to be expatriated? I think that's the term. Extradited, yeah. Fucking. And I should have been able to know that.
Manning was NSA, right? That's where.
No, that's Snowden.
Snowden, okay.
Snowden worked with WikiLeaks a little bit too, but he worked primarily with the Guardian newspaper.
Sure.
With Glenn Greenwald and.
Well, so pretty much any reason they would put out for extradition is bullshit unless they straight up say we want him. Well, and people have said they want him for treason, and that's not fucking possible because he's not a U.S. citizen.
Well, I mean, people have said they wanted him for treason, but what they're gonna get him on, like in reality, is violating secrecy acts, like, and helping being a foreign agent and all that stuff. So they're basically saying, fuck journalism, we want Assange's head.
Right. And yeah, speaking of fuck journalism, that's another reason why I think the Storm Area 51 event should be covered, because talking with people about it, people are saying they're just going to mow everybody down. And if they do that, that includes journalists.
Right.
So I don't think they're going to do that. I think that would be a terrible idea, and it could go a couple different ways. It'll either usher in total state control of everything if they're willing to mow down journalists, people documenting what happens there, or a cover-up. Who knows? It could be fucking crazy.
Which is why people need to set up mesh networks connected to hardwired, like, actual technology and hold their own broadcast tents and vans and shit. Jason Booth says Ross got double life.
Plus 40.
Plus 40. El Chapo got like got life plus 30. I don't actually. It's been too long since I looked into El Chapo, so I'll look him up right now just to clarify. But yeah, it's what happened to Ross is total bullshit.
Well, yeah, Chapo Guzman is responsible for thousands of deaths, if not directly. I wouldn't be surprised if some were by his hand, but it has to be thousands of horrific deaths at the head of the Sinaloa cartel. And Ross had a website.
Yeah. And Chapo got a less sentence.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, broke out of prison twice, threatened people's families to get out, possibly had some of them killed, paid off a bunch of people to get out. Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure. Jason also says Assange is going to get hit for allegedly helping Manning hack a computer, then pile some other bullshit on. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, let him with whatever they fucking can.
Well, and the thing about the hack was that Manning didn't hack anything.
I'm in.
He knew the password. He just used the password in a way that the U.S. government doesn't want him to. In fact, that's what they're doing. Like, they're saying that it's criminal use of a password or criminal access of a database or something like that.
Right.
They're not even upset at what he leaked. They're just upset that he got in. Like, you bypassed my security and now I'm mad.
Pretty much. And exposing things that needed to be public.
Yeah, so, alright, so what do you think? Because people know my stance on Area 51. I think it's all bullshit. I don't think there's any aliens or anything, and I don't think there have been. I think if they were going to store anything anywhere, that they would have moved it from the location everybody knows about for the past 30 years.
I believe should be public knowledge that they have. I think they came out with that either in response to this or much earlier. I saw something about that the other day. Right.
So what do you think of Area 51?
I don't know. I don't really care if there's something there or not. People. The meme is clap alien cheeks, get laser blasters, all that stuff. I don't really care. I mean, obviously you're not going to be clapping fucking alien cheeks. Get the fuck out of here. We know it's a meme, but the idea of Stormy is what I'm interested in. I did check out Bob Lazar and some of his interviews. I didn't finish the documentary. And I can't tell if he's bullshitting or not, but the stuff that he says he saw there is obviously not there anymore. So.
Well, and see, that's the thing. I do think he's bullshitting. I don't believe any of that for a second because, if they were going to have something like that, they wouldn't have allowed it to become public. And if it did become public, they would have moved everything. And if they moved everything, then there wouldn't be so many concurrent accounts of it.
That's assuming that they're good at what they do as well.
Well, yeah, but I don't buy the whole government is stupid thing. I think that's if you want a distraction beyond any other distraction, think that the government is too incompetent to do anything, so all they have to do is act dumb to get what they want. Like Boris Johnson, for instance, John Oliver recently did a entire special for him on it last week tonight, And he went over the fact that Boris actively tries to look stupid so that people will underestimate him. And he went over the fact that, that might well be what Trump does as well. Politicians act stupid all the time. Acting a fool is easy.
Sure.
All you've got to do is make people think you're too stupid to do evil, and they'll never think you're evil, just stupid.
Well, and the other side of that, too, is something I've been thinking about a lot that I slip back into is when you say the government. And when I say the government, when anyone says the government, we're talking about multiple agencies, sometimes at odds, which could explain a lot as far as things leaking from Area 51. Because if one agency is in control of the site, and then I'm talking about Bob Lazar times when he was there, and assuming that what he saw was real. If one agency is in control of the site and another agency wants control or wants in on it for the technology, it's a possibility that they would use that as a tactic.
Yeah, of course. That's part of the thing with this, is that interagency conflict has led to a huge proliferation of, essentially conflict of information.
Sure.
That's what they blamed the lack of conversation for, what happened on 9/11 on. They blamed it on the fact that the agencies couldn't give each other information. They couldn't give each other that information, and so they knew the plane was coming, but they couldn't say anything to one another. That's what they claim. Now, whether it's true or not, I don't know. I kind of doubt it. But, to me, if that was true, then, maybe they would have already leaked everything. I don't know why they wouldn't have had a GoPro. I mean, it can't be like a Faraday cage set up for the whole base. That'd be untenable. So I don't know why they wouldn't have already, found enough that they could, stream from a GoPro to their phone to a server. And, if that was their goal. I just sort of doubt it is.
Sure. Some of the most compelling stuff I think Bob Lazar said was the way whoever the fuck they are, attempted to erase his life, his education, his previous work history, and that was able to be proven that he did in fact earn the degree from wherever he earned it from. He worked where he said he worked. And another little tidbit that I thought was interesting as far as competing agencies was, according to Bob Lazar, there were Russians there in collaboration with whatever agency was at Area 51 at the time, attempting to figure out the supposed technology. And when a breakthrough happened on the U.S. side, they packed up the Russians and sent them out. We don't need your help anymore, and didn't want to share any of it with them. So
yeah, well, and on that particular score, there was a recent hint at it in Stranger Things, which, for any of you who don't watch it, I would recommend, because it's kind of cheesy in some places, but in a good way, and it's 80s-ish, and it's all that stuff. But if you like Stephen King, I think you would like it. It's sort of like light fare for Stephen King fans. Mm-hmm. And it follows kids, and one of the kids has psychic powers, and it's an interesting thing because they basically confronted MK Ultra real early on. But in the latest season, spoilers for anybody who wants to skip this, you can skip a minute ahead. There's a Russian base under the mall, and they find that Russian base under the mall, and they actively raid the base, and people don't believe that they could because they're just kids, so they kept on beating them and asking them, demanding to know who they worked for. It'll be interesting to see how easy it is to raid a base, because if it is as easy as it was in Stranger Things, maybe it'd be easy in real life too. I don't fucking know. I've never raided a base before. Of course, Stranger Things, they also had the unrealistically wide vents that they got in through, so whatever. That's a side issue. I could go into vents for a while.
Well, I have seen active military who say, and it's probably bullshit, that they'll be there and they'll help. I've seen screenshots of that, but who the fuck knows if that's true? Probably not. Interesting comment on the YouTube real quick. Jason Booth said that storming Area 51 is a bad idea because government is very good at being violent, although they're incompetent. So he thinks the military will do a preemptive show of force before the storming. I'd be interested in knowing what you think that would be.
Me or Jason Booth?
Both.
Well, I mean, maybe they'll have all of their four troops, like they'll have an FOB set up at the edge of the base, and they'll have like lasers on people, and they'll like aim supersonic or those psychoacoustic weapons at people. They'll like flash bright lights. They'll disperse gas. You know, I mean, they have a wide array of things that we know about that they could use. If there is anything secret in Area 51, there's probably a decent chunk of things that we don't even know about that they could put to bear, and that would be an interesting thing, like on its face. But to me, like, even like if you look at this as storming, that's part of my problem with it too. Like, it's rank and file storming. You can't win with rank and file storming in modern warfare. It doesn't work. You need to make it tactical. You need to make things surgical. And if you don't, you get wiped out real fucking quick.
True.
Anybody who's in the military would know this, which is why I'm sort of skeptical of these people claiming that they're in the military and that they'll also help.
Sure.
Just for people's knowledge, I pulled up an article on the Denver International Airport. So says the baggage claim mural is actually one of 4 by the same artist at Denver International, painted in 1995 during the airport's construction. The 4 paintings make up 2 overarching pieces of art, the first being In Peace and Harmony with Nature, and the second titled Children of the World, Dream of Peace. While the violent nature of each can be a bit distracting, closer analysis makes their messages a little more clear. Now, I don't know what this person's going to say, but something you should know is In Peace and Harmony with Nature is also available on the Georgia Guidestones, which suggests that the way to make peace and harmony with nature is to reduce human population to below 500 fucking million. So there's something to consider. And when all these images are of violence and war and conflict and chaos, and eventually, after all of this stuff, there's a new multicultural thing that leads into this new place, sort of like a Noah's Ark kind of situation, and a military guy slaying the dove and war and all this stuff. Suddenly at the end we're met with all of this peace and all of this internationalism and, you know, great
fucking Boy Scouts.
Yes. And this is what the airport looks like. It's a normal airport, right? It's a normal airport.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of images in that first mural that are obviously meant to tell people something. I believe that would be what, Quetzalcoatl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. It says Quetzalcoatl right there, and with the kind of 3D cube image.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what that's called, but as far as I'm aware, that's one of the occult images for Total Dominion, is putting something within that 3D cube, which is a reason supposedly that police hats are shaped the way they are. It's like a 2-dimensional version of a cube viewed from one angle, but then was a dead fucking jaguar. That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of craziness in that picture.
Whole lot of occult symbolism.
Yeah.
And obviously a person who's still alive being dead in a coffin, buried with a bunch of artifacts.
Kachina doll, yeah.
Yeah. Fucking, I don't know how people don't see how this is obviously a threat.
Again.
Yeah. How this being in an airport is. And in a short bit I'll fucking pop up the laughing gargoyle, but I thought it'd be valuable for people to see this, because this is what they do. They laugh at you. They laugh at me. They're laughing at all of us. That's what that is.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
So, that aside, just to get that information out there for those of you who don't already know for some reason, because, you know, you haven't been subscribed to me, and because I talk about that way too fucking much, probably like once every 2 or 3 recordings I do. But all that aside, We got a comment from Jason Booth saying Area 51 used to be a bombing range. Some bombs dropped and some MRAPs driving the fence. Maybe have some people armed to the teeth and in uniform walking around the nearby towns. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they used this as a drill.
Mm-hmm. That was something that just popped back into my head about some of the sentiments being expressed in the Area 51 groups. You know, the general sentiment that your average person has about paying taxes. You know, the government works for me because I pay taxes. Right. But I'm okay with riding that idea with people to a better conclusion. But a lot of people saying, you know what, they shouldn't be able to hide it from us because we pay for that. That's a step in the right direction in the general mindset as well.
Right. Well, and of course there are going to be people out there who say, well, you know, yeah, we pay for it, but we pay for these people to keep secrets from us.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I don't pay for that, but, you know, you can continue being a cuck if you want.
Yep. What
flavor of boot polish is your favorite? All that aside, yeah, I do think that this is gonna. I mean, if you want, and I'm not going to attend. I want everybody to know that unless some severely significant thing happens where I get a ton of money, I'm not going. If you want to see me attend, you can throw some money at my Patreon or PayPal or whatever, and you know, I'll consider it. I'll go with Nick. We'll make it a joint effort or whatever. I don't envision that happening. You know, I need to pay rent on Thursday. I need fucking $200 by Thursday. So I don't think I'm gonna have enough money to justify going to Area 51, and I just want that out there. Before I say this next comment, I think that it'd be a ripe territory for a mass shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's going to be an incident like a mass shooting that happens there that they didn't plan. You know, sort of like the one that happened in Las Vegas with all that bullshit around it, where like the information was hidden and, you know, there were guards at the door and all that good, juicy conspiracy stuff. Like, that wasn't suspicious.
Yep.
It's not suspicious that happened at a country concert either. You know, it's...
Well, I'm on board with you as far as the finance thing. I too have to pay for a whole lot of things, but I got that covered. And so the reason I set the goal at $1,000, hitting that this month on the Dank Podstash Patreon, hitting that this month and carrying it into September, is to pay for pretty much getting there. I'll sleep in the fucking car, eat and sleep in the car, go there, film it, and bring it back to y'all. But the other thing is, it's not just, it's a $50 a month tier to do that.
Yeah.
But you get a fucking t-shirt, a hilarious Area 51 t-shirt that goes with it. So you get something, two things. You get footage, you get the t-shirt, and we'll see what happens. I want to go. And I figured there's going to be a lot of people who are interested, who can't go, who want to see what happens. This is your way to throw some money towards that.
Right.
Because by the end of it, I won't be profiting hardly at all from it. This is just to go and do it.
Well, if you do get a lot of subscribers because you're going to be on the ground reporting, I think you'll get something out of it. Because to me, the prime potential from things like this is the media exposure for people who think differently. Like, that's what I like about this. It's one of the few things I like, because I'm a cynical asshole and I don't like a lot of stuff. But it's that people of a different, like, heterodox persuasion of, like, you know, economic, political, all this thinking. Like, we've got people who believe seriously in conspiracies in these groups. I've seen them do it. Of course, let me just say this. For whoever runs those groups, I've seen many other people's posts get approved, and I still have 3 that have not gotten approved yet, and I haven't even made 1. So whoever you are, this is the finger you get.
You gotta throw some dank memes up there, man.
I did.
Clap cheeks get yeets.
Okay, so this is what I threw in there. I'll pull it up on Twitter, because I know it's over there, and it's also on Facebook and PocketNet. Which, by the way, anybody who wants to join PocketNet and get decentralized and uncensored, I would highly encourage you to do that, especially if you plan to do something that might result in a boogaloo. You don't want censorship if you're trying to get a message out there or get things done. So, just putting that out there. But, you know, all that aside, like, let me be real fucking specific. These groups do have good people in them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that one of the best possible things that could happen out of this is that people who are good network. So if you're good, network. If you're trying to figure out the best ways forward in an anti-government mindset, network. Use this as an opportunity to do so. Here is the image that I put in that group.
Mm-hmm.
It's available on my fucking Twitter as well, which you can follow if you want.
It's because you're fucking dissing on Naruto, and that's what they're all about. That's why they don't want to prove it.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm too cool for them.
Yep.
Look at that image. That's way too cool for those people.
Well, you could attract the Sonic crowd that way. I don't see why you wouldn't want to bring more people in.
Well, and yeah, that's the other part of it. Like, but maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe he doesn't actually want this thing to happen anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe he's trying to reduce friction.
He announced that. He said, "Don't do this. It's stupid. It was a joke."
Yeah.
But it's too far past that.
Yeah. Yeah, but I posted this. We had a good... let me click in here because it's Windows 7. Well, actually, I guess that was on Facebook that we had the good conversation about which Sonic character was better. Some people were on Team Knuckles for some reason. I was saying that he is an add-on and it's the sequel to the sequel. He's not the star of the show. But anyway, all that fucking fan whatevering aside, my primary thing with this is you have some power here. You have some significant power. That's the reason I was comfortable talking about it on State Smash, because I think it's evidence that there are enough of us who could possibly do some actual fucking damage.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the main reason I'm interested in this. And I do want to stress not to let it distract you from the Epstein case right now. That needs to fucking stay in the media, stay everywhere, so that he doesn't just fucking slip out of everyone's view. And the people that are involved with him, everybody involved in human trafficking and pedophilia needs to go the fuck down one way or another. So if they try to cover that up, that's the next storm that fucking shit.
Right, and you know, I'm gonna upload it shortly. I've got 2 episodes of Weekly Hellscape. If any of you aren't familiar with that, it's my podcast where I make your Friday worse. That podcast, I have not only this episode, I've got some more coverage on it, but I've got some pretty deep coverage on how Epstein is the tip of the iceberg. Like, for instance, they recently had to put out actual legislation, like put it into the beginning process of becoming law. The Department of Defense people couldn't share, view, and appreciate child porn on Department of Defense computers and networks. They were doing it enough that they needed a law.
Jesus Christ.
There were hundreds of people doing this.
Take them all out back and shoot them.
Right? But that's not going to happen. We just have to make a law that says, no, naughty. Because there's a double standard. You do that in fucking private sector and you get life.
Jesus Christ. You don't get as much as Ross, apparently.
Yeah, right?
Definitely search that hashtag too, Free Ross.
They still get government paychecks. They still get their jobs. They haven't gone to jail for running child porn networks.
It's ridiculous.
And Jason says, article from The Guardian today said that Epstein bought his assistant from her family in like Yugoslavia when she was a girl and forced her to have sex with other people for his pleasure. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me.
Not one bit.
That's the real frustration. Area 51 has been shut down for all of the secret purposes. It's pretty much legit now. Any secrecy is being held elsewhere. And you know where it's being held? Somewhere you don't know about. So do research. Look into this shit. Find out where they're actually holding this shit. And then do something about it. Use this level of power that they have given you for something good. Ever hear about what's under the Getty? I have heard something similar. I have never heard specifically what is under the Getty, but I've heard that there's probably a lot under that. Although, it's interesting, because the Getty Museum burned down as part of the fire that went through California last year. Or not last year, this year actually. Just, fucking news cycle barraging us with all this bullshit. I forgot it was this year, because so much has fucking happened.
Was it the Paradise Fire that burned down in? One of those?
I think it was like the whole fire was called the Carr Fire.
Oh, okay.
C-A-R-R.
Gotcha.
So the Getty, whatever was there, could still be under there, but the Getty Museum itself is closed down, which means that if there was a time to see whether or not there was anything there, the time is now. Mm-hmm. Because whatever they're still using the place for, if anything, you would be able to see who comes in and goes out. And, not have to wonder whether or not they're just customers of the museum trying to see what's going on, like, with their latest exhibits. I've been to the Getty Center. I liked a lot of the art that was there. So, I wouldn't doubt that they would have something like that there, but I don't specifically know. When the 405 was on fire, quote, remodeling. Yeah, exactly, right? And that's what they're doing at Denver International. They're remodeling. And that's part of the Laughing Gargoyle. They've got a bunch of stuff like the murals behind literal walls. I guess they just don't want people talking about it for some reason. Who knew?
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta go, man.
I was about to say the same thing. Anyway, if y'all have any more questions, you can hit us up in the chat. You can also hit him up in his Discord if you become a patron and try to help him figure out if there's going to be a Boogaloo. You can become my patron. You can throw some PayPal at me. I sent some links in the description. And there are also a shit ton of ways of supporting me in the description to this video itself. He's going to share the video in various places. He's also going to share his own version of the video as soon as possible on his personal pages. He's recording his own version of it with Zoom.
Yep.
So feel free to check out Enemy of the State's Dank Pod Stash and the Enemy of the State's Dank Meme Stash. Both of those are pages. The Meme Stash is underrated and also has only like 400 likes.
The Dank Pod Stash Meme Cache.
Yes. So feel free to like all of those. If you're on Facebook, you can find those pages and all the information you need about everything else is available on the YouTube description, including his Patreon. All the information about the sponsors. I want to thank him again for coming on, and
thank
also
you, man.
for all of my sponsors to this show. Jason Booth, thanks for the subscription, and I hope you stick around. There's a lot of state to smash.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, this has been an episode of the State Smash podcast, and also, of course, Enemy of the State's Dank Pod Stash, which all of that sounds like a tongue twister, but we're not the same podcast, I promise. He's more positive, I'm more negative. So if you want to have a worse day, come here. If you want to have a better day, go there. That's what I can tell you.
Just like talking to people.
Right?
Yep. Talking to all kinds of different people. That's what the Dank Pod Stash is all about.
And that's why you've already had me on. Also, if you want to see those episodes, I'll include the link in an update post about the things that I've been doing lately. Because I've been places. I've been doing shit. I just haven't been talking about it as much, which I shouldn't do. But anyway, all that said, thank you for coming on. Pleasure having you over.
You as well,
my
sir.
First in-person recording. My hand's a little sweaty because it's fucking warm in here. I think this was a good stream. Time to end it.
If you're listening on Enemy of the State's Dank Pod Stash after the fact, make sure to check out all of Jeremy's stuff.
Aye. Be well.